said, we're so excited that you have come to join us today to learn more how putting out fires with an exposure assessment using ServiceNow's SecOps and SAM modules. So a little bit about us at ITS. We are a ServiceNow consultancy with over 4 decades of ITS expertise. If there's one thing our customers know us for, is that we deliver on an unmatched customer experience every single time. And our CSATs, our NPSs prove that. In fact, have exceptional ability to achieve these results for our clients. That's earned us the coveted elite partner status with ServiceNow. Feel free to go visit us at itspartners.com to learn more about ITS and what we are all about. So today we've got 4 speakers that are going to do presenting, go through a demo and things like that. First one up is going to be Eric Roberts from ITS. He's our business process consultant. And so, hey, Eric, would you introduce yourself?
Hey, thanks, Chad. Thanks very much. Yeah, so my name is Eric Roberts. I've been doing cybersecurity for about 15 years as a practitioner in government. Started out my career in the United States Marine Corps, and also did some time in the private sector as well, various software companies before coming to ITS, where I've done a number of vulnerability response implementations, working hand in hand with folks to implement SAM and SAM Pro, and have become really passionate about these products and delivering them to customers in my time. So I'll pass it to Ray.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks to everyone in the ITS team for having us on today. My name is Ray Chung. I've been in the IT industry for 20 plus years with various roles. And my role within ServiceNow is part of the ITX, which is the IT transformation team, which is IT operations, IT asset management, SAM, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm on the same team as Joe Pizzo.
Thanks, Ray. I'm Joe Pizzo. As Ray said, we're on the same ITX team here at ServiceNow. I am part of the security business unit. I've been working in the industry for 20 plus years on both the operator side and on the vendor side. And I'm just happy to be here, and pass it to Jeff.
Hey, thanks, Joe. My name's Jeff Tomsik. I've worn a few hats in several years that I've been here at ITS. You can see here that one of those is the pre-sales consultant. I came up on the developer side of things, and then kind of worked my way through business process consulting, helping people, or organizations rather, with any process design help that they need around, policy, governance, things like that. I specialize in SACM, which is Service Asset Configuration Management. And today, in terms of this presentation, I'll be helping with the software asset management piece. So thanks, guys. Before we get to the SAM piece itself and the rest of this, I want to go through the agenda one more time. We have software asset management and vulnerability response. Very obvious, right? That's what you guys came here for. We want to talk about, we're in an interesting time right now, right? Where things are a little bit unprecedented, and how we're handling things with COVID, and just some general scenarios. And then Joe's going to do a demo for us as well. So what are some problems that we're trying to solve today? Well, obviously we know that we have a lot of high risk vulnerabilities that could be potentially exploiting into our system. We want to definitely make sure that we can expose as much of those vulnerabilities as possible before they actually become incidents. Organizations may take up to 3 to 4 weeks to scan their entire network. How do we actually speed that up? We don't want to wait 3 to 4 weeks, right? We want to get answers as quick as possible. And then, how are we going to actually solution against that? Particularly here, we're going to talk about solutioning for SAM specifically. I know that I talked about COVID for a second there on the last slide. This is a good piece to actually stop on for a moment and mention, because of COVID, we had this situation where a lot of our customers and even non-customers, organizations in general, had to spin up laptops, get software on those laptops, and get people ready to work from home, right? So let's make sure that we're aware of those things and how we're going to help resolve any issues that may come from those changes that had to happen. So software asset management as a whole is something that's one of the fastest growing applications for ServiceNow. we're going to be tracking our software licenses so that we can actually get compliance within the system, and then ultimately, hopefully, optimize that entire software asset management program so that we get return on investment. We can actually have a better end user experience. We're basically looking to make sure that, you know, when we go into an audit, that we can actually say that we're compliant, and even go back to our CFOs or CIOs and say, hey, look, you know, IT usually gets this bad rep of being a cost to the business, but we can actually return value by showing things like potential savings through remediation. Here we have the SAM lifecycle. We're going to get insight through the SAM tool into what we actually own using attributes like product classification. We can use reports against that product classification attribute to say, you know, we actually have several software models or software products that are doing the same thing. Why don't we look into which one's actually working the best? We could see savings there. And then that kind of leads into, are we buying what we need? Do we have shortcomings in terms of other places where we have several product classifications where our customers are saying, hey, you know what, this particular product isn't working super great. We can run reports off of that and see if we can get something new for our customers, our end users. And then, are we actually using what we have? We can use the software usage through SCCM to see if our end users are actually utilizing software as frequently as we would hope. So these are these are three of the actual tiers for breakdown of software asset management where we can make big impacts. Mitigating license and compliance risk through our reconciliation piece, and making sure that we utilize things like our software lifecycle, which is a big part of what's going to connect and create a relationship to the vulnerability response side. We want to optimize our licenses. So as we talked about before, there's that software usage. We can even utilize a cool new feature where if there's ad hoc spend, we can track things like that within the tool to make sure that if someone has a company credit card and they think that they're outside of our processes and should be able to just go buy whatever software they want, we can check on things like that. And then again, efficiency is going to allude to all the parts of SAM that we can actually help make the mundane processes that our SAM team is running into today, where we're trying to track things like usage, or, you know, hey, what do we have several softwares of in our system? There are tools within our SAMP application that can help with that, like client software distribution. Our client software distribution tool can be set up to create a reclamation rule so that if, again, people aren't utilizing software as much as we deem that they should be, then it sends out a task flow for a removal candidate, and actually it's supposed to go to the user, but we recommend it should go to the manager. The manager can say, you know, actually this person doesn't need this software, and it can be pulled from the device. This is what creates our potential savings. So those are just a couple examples of those things. Here we have a really good chart of a high level view of everything that is touched when we're talking about SAM, and even kind of relates to the system itself, right? This is the beauty of the platform. In the center, we have our CMDB. That's our source of truth. We can see that there are a lot of pieces that actually play into everything that's going on with the relationships between all these tables. Our normalization is going to help with our software models. Discovery is going to help with our software installations. Our entitlements are going to actually help with our compliance. And then we can reconcile against what we've entitled. We can even use things like performance analytics, which actually comes natively with SAMP application to help create really pretty dashboards really quickly, just right from the list view. And I think that this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about, since we're talking about relationships. You can see on the bottom right there, security, how VR can actually tie back in with SAMP. Can you talk a little bit about that, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Jeff. You know, for me, the real power of the SAM module for security folks comes in managing these endpoint tools. So you kind of mentioned, are the end users using it? If someone has disabled Trend Micro on their system or their antivirus or endpoint protection software, that's the kind of information that the security team can actually get from the SAM module. And there's a whole, bunch of other reasons why they may want to, have access to that SAM module for these endpoint protection programs. A lot of times folks in software and other industries have conflicts with these tools. So you'll have whole sections of your organization that may be using a different tool. You may be licensed for, 1,000 endpoints for Trend Micro, and you're only using 500. And again, we talk about the cost savings and why it's important for security professionals to be guiding the conversations around these and not just being accountable when there's an issue with their licensing true up. Obviously, the tools here, your scanners and your SIM tool. Well, the scanners, they plug directly into vulnerability response. So that's really been a fundamental part of our business at ITS, is helping folks with these integrations to make sure that they're getting the value add from Tenable or Qualys. On top of making sure that your security folks are licensed. These tools are all licensed differently. You might have 2 or 3 different scanners in your environment that you need to make sure you're paying for every year. And, you may have security engineers that are needing to scan different environments and really, pushing the envelope as far as licensing. And this kind of helps the management staff, make sure they're containing that and things don't get out of hand as far as budget. For Splunk and QRadar here, those tools plug into the SecOps module too. And we have a lot of customers using those. The first question they always ask is, can you really handle the amount of events that we have? And that's never been an issue in the implementations I've done. These tools, getting those events pumped directly into ServiceNow for both vulnerability response and incident response is extremely valuable. And obviously the vulnerability response integrations that kind of come out of box. There's a variety of applications there that security folks should be aware of. The most important kind of stuff that you get from this tool is really going to be your integrations. And yeah, I think IBM QRadar, that's probably the one that I've worked the most with as far as implementing for customers. Splunk is huge in the industry, and folks definitely need to be making sure that they're matching their licenses per the number of appliances they have in their environment. So, the ServiceNow incident response module is going to plug into both of these, and the SAM module is really going to give you your licensing true ups. So, yeah, I think when it comes to the two products working hand in hand, these are really good examples of tools that you're going to get extremely value add out of SAM and the vulnerability response applications here. When we talk about out of box, this MVD, the National Vulnerability Database, is going to be something that as soon as you install your vulnerability response application, this information is going to come pouring into your vulnerabilities as you start adding them to your ServiceNow instance, and those vulnerability groups. Your engineers have access to this information without needing to change browser tabs every 5 minutes and say, oh, I'm looking at a different vulnerability. Let me go back and forth to the MVD and see, what they recommend here. And there's really, you know, a lot of that I've seen in security shops where, you know, how many browser tabs does one security engineer need to, you know, resolve an incident or fix a bunch of vulnerabilities? So having this information kind of heads up and the ability to search the MVD and, you know, attach this information to tickets without a person needing to do it, so powerful for security folks. So, you know, there's really the SAM module and the VR module working hand in hand here. And there's so many other applications these tools will integrate with. And I kind of wanted Ray to shed some light on that for how that can help us be preemptive with these fires.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. So as Eric mentioned, a lot about vulnerabilities. There's also the need to license your SecOps related software, just like your day-to-day business software packages, right? And one of the use cases we've heard a lot of customers ask us about is, how do you manage TLS certificates, right? You think about it for each of you on the call today, how's your organization currently manage your TLS certificates? Some have told us that it's really by spreadsheets, a very manual process. So if you start thinking about TLS certificates expiring, possibly causing exposure and vulnerabilities, as we've been talking about. So what we want to be able to do is have the visibility and automated notification before your certificates expire. And leveraging the SAM software asset management package can allow us to do that. Think about it. So SAM could give you the ability to have a notification go out 45 days, let's say, for example, and you can set that time frame to anything you want, but 45 days, for example, and it goes out to, if it's procurement, is it the IT teams that need to request or renew those certificates? If nothing happens, we can also set it up so that we have an escalated alert, right? So that 10 days before, okay, now this is critical. This has to be taken care of. So now we're creating an incident alert, and all the correct teams that have to manage this can go and resolve this issue. So a lot of it is what we want to have with SAM is having the ability to have a centralized, accessible, and accurate data on all the software licenses, all the entitlements that we have, and especially the expiration dates, right? So if one team is managing it, right, maybe it's a software asset team that's managing it in a traditional sense, and they may not be talking about it. They may not think it's so critical. To them, it's just a checkbox. Yeah, we'll let the IT team know that the certificate's expiring. They'll renew it next week, whatever, no big deal. But from a SecOps perspective, you know, like that's a critical thing that we need to stay on top of. So the big things we want to know is that if that actually happens, right, you get that response, the ability to tie into the ServiceNow platform means that, okay, so someone in the NOC gets a notification, it's an event, but also the procurement team may need to know that, okay, we don't have the entitlements for the software package, we need to go and procure it. And sometimes that may take a day, a week, 10 days or longer. Hence you can build in the buffers so that you make sure you have time, plenty of time to procure all the software that you need and get buy-in from finance that has to cut the PO. And the beauty of that is we can build all those workflows within ServiceNow. So all the team members that need to know, IT teams, the NOC who originally gets the message, the licensing team, finance team, procurement teams, everybody that needs to know about this, when it happens, that automated message goes out through the workflows in ServiceNow. So really what it comes down to is having the visibility, the accuracy, knowing the software versions, knowing the owners of all those software packages, knowing the users of those software packages, because they may be different from the owners. And if any vulnerabilities come in, how do we know about it? How do we notify the people? Are we vulnerable because of this new notification that's come out? Where? What versions of the software is affected? What versions do we have? SAM allows us to know that in an instant, at a glance. Hey, Joe, can you give us some more from your perspective of what you're seeing?
Sure, Ray. So when I think about this, I think about what am I getting out of software asset management? What am I getting out of vulnerability response? And when I look at vulnerability response, I have to break that down into two areas. First is the vulnerability management side, where historically we've done a great job of having awareness of our vulnerabilities. But the problem is taking action on those vulnerabilities. And by combining software asset management and VR into a better together story, what we're gaining out of the speed and accuracy from SAM is we're able to deliver the awareness and action against the vulnerabilities. So now we have quick access to where we have these fires. So we get these alerts that come in, and we have fires that are brought up to us, and they're small fires that we need to put out quickly. And we want to be able to create custom vulnerabilities off of these small fires that we've identified through using SAM, and turn them into either existing vulnerabilities, or combine them with existing vulnerabilities, or create custom vulnerabilities that we can then go and triage and prioritize based on any dimension that we might have on them, or any elements that might be associated with them. Things like ease of exploit or experience to exploit. Is this something that any script kiddie can go out and run an exploit against? So does this take enhanced knowledge? Being able to escalate these to the appropriate IT administrators to recover and remediate them. And then finally, provide the detailed key performance indicators and metrics to the stakeholders that are asking these questions. So we want to be able to do something with this. And when we think about today, we want to think about how these vulnerabilities can be exploited. And with the new normal that's going on with COVID-19, we're now seeing targeted campaigns that are coming through in a number of ways. They may be masquerading as the CDC or the WHO. They could be masquerading as state benefits associations sending us a phishing email that says your social security number is being used, or we've identified that you've been in close proximity based on your cell phone usage. Please click this link. Or something as simple as, during these trying times, we want to send you a free pizza, follow this link. And now we're exposed to things, and those links can be hosting software and exploits that are taking advantage of these vulnerabilities. And they're basically using emotion to attract this interaction and get us to start allowing these events to occur in our environment. And this is where we start seeing these fires across our enterprise. And we want to reduce these fires from 5-alarm and get rid of them, or bring them down to small, smoldering, manageable fires that we can handle in our environment. So when we think about this, who's going to be affected by this? And by who, I mean, who are the end users? We want to be able to understand the exposure in our environment. So have that information from software asset management that's going to give us that count immediately, be able to quickly identify those problems and convert those problems into the vulnerabilities that we can go and we can have the awareness and then take action against them. Resolve and remediate these issues so that we know that we're clean, we're in a place, and it puts us to the final step is where we can answer those important questions. And ultimately, the question is, it's a series, and it's, is this installed in our environment? Where is this installed? How many installations exist across our environment? And can we fix or watch these? And when we can answer those important questions, we can move on quickly and efficiently to have a solution and continue working on the things that are important to us so that we can knock out these critical vulnerabilities. So typically what we see is we see events that occur when maybe we have a stakeholder. Maybe that stakeholder is a board member or a C-level or a CISO that's sitting on the bus and they receive an alert from a third party. And that might be a threat research group. That could be a major vendor like an Oracle and Adobe. It could be Microsoft. It could be any organization that's sending me these alerts to say, hey, we've identified that there's now a vulnerability in this piece of software. And we may not have scans that are kicking off today, or maybe our scans are staged in a way that they're hitting certain areas of our network based on certain schedules that we've set up. And this information will typically include some information on workarounds for fixing the solution. Maybe it's a full patch that's been included. Maybe it's a registry key entry that's been modified, that needs to be modified, or a file deletion or modification. But it gives us information in order to be able to take this data and do something with it. And this is where we start stepping into creating the vulnerabilities off of the information that we have from our software asset management. And this is that better together story. And you'll hear a lot of better together stories around ServiceNow and our different products. But this is one that's a high value and high impact for our customers that gives them the answers quickly. So now I'm going to take you into a demo so that you can actually see what this is and see how fast it produces this information. So when we go in, I'm going to go into my exposure assessment field, and we're going to be able to start creating a new search for what's going on in our environment. And this is a very quick and accurate way to go and identify where we have that exposure. Now, not to pick on any single vendor, but I'm going to look for Adobe Flash. Now, I can add information about the version or the edition. I can go in and filter information on the CI, but I'm just going to go and look and see where we have Adobe Flash running across our environment. And immediately what we have is we have a count. As of today, we have information that tells me that I have Adobe Flash installed on 34 of over my 600 different assets in my environment. So that's a pretty high percentage for me to have to worry about. And for me to go out and manually work through these is tough. I can even further drill this down by focusing on the version. So I might say that I want to look at version 11.2 and go and see what my exposure, because that might be the alert that's out there, and I can further filter this down by edition. But now I have a count of 17, and this is where I can go and do something with it. I can go and click on either of my Create Vulnerable Items buttons here, and now I have the ability to add this to an existing vulnerability or create a new vulnerability. I'll need to have some information on this as to like the CVE that I'm attaching this to, but I can create these new vulnerable items, and this is going to deliver to me the actual count, and it's going to show me those vulnerable items where I can actively go out and start working through these. These will automatically, in some cases, be added to vulnerability groups. I can make assignments and pass these on through change management to the correct IT user so that that IT user can now go and start focusing on their work. I can also add information to these vulnerable items that includes that workaround that was included with that alert that I initially received. So this is going to provide me with that quick way to be able to determine what's going on in my environment. And now I can answer those questions of, is this installed in my environment? Yes. Where is this installed? I have 17 different systems. I have the name of those systems. I group them appropriately, and I can start working them through. I have the count of how many. Again, it's 17. And can we fix or watch these? And since we've been delivered a solution, I can add that solution to the vulnerable item, and I can pass this on so that I now have that data to fix this problem. And in a matter of seconds, I was able to go through and answer the questions that are asked by my stakeholders and provide that immediate value to them.
All right. Thanks, guys. That was a great presentation. And thank you, Joe, for that demo. We really appreciate that. So the next steps, we're going to, if you guys want to learn more about ITS and about these capabilities and want to take those next steps, visit our website, itsdelivers.com/next-steps, and we will get you in contact with the right team. Once again, I want to thank the 4 guys that presented today, and I want to thank all of you for taking 30 minutes out of your very busy schedules to hang out with us. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.